Hi, I'm very persistent. This is just what it takes, you know, when you have a severely autistic child. You just have to be very persistent, never get discouraged. And I did try to go to the library, and it was closed, so, you know, it is what it is, so I just deal with that. So you're gonna hear my mother and my child. I hope they just don't come in underwear here. It is what it is. But anyway, I will do a training actually with tips and instructions how to teach your child a gender, and it's kind of important nowadays, so they don't get confused. And in ABA, you don't even give them the wrong option. You start teaching them the right answer in the first thing. And I'm gonna start with severe, which, you know, that means a 0. You want something like this. I already show this, you know, a boy and a girl, simple. And you want to have a label, especially for those that are nonverbal. You want to have that here, okay? My child is somewhat verbal now. He kind of responds. He even, you know, reads things, whatever. But when your child is nonverbal, they cannot say things, obviously. That's why you want to have that label there. They still learn, they just cannot say it. So their communication will be pointing, right? Or give me, and they're supposed to give you that. But with a 0, you actually start with a 0. So that means you're gonna teach just one card, and it doesn't matter which order, boy or a girl. If you have a boy or a girl, doesn't matter. You just start teaching with one card, and you just say, first thing, boy, boy. You can even spell B-O-Y, because sometimes they're smart but they just cannot talk. So you start with this one card, okay? First you're gonna say it, boy. Then you're gonna repeat it again, a boy. Then you're gonna go to point, boy. You have them take their hand and point that with their finger, boy, boy. Then you can do show. I shouldn't put the card. Show. You take their hand and point and show, pretty much the same, right? But point and show. Or then you're gonna say, give me, boy. This is just one card, and they're gonna give you that card. Or if they don't, then you just take their hand, boy, and you give it to yourself, basically. So that's pretty much first step. Then if they're nonverbal, that this is where it's gonna stop. Just point or show or give me. But with the ones that are verbal or have a echolalia, then you wanna ask them to say that this is a boy, boy, and you just wait. They're supposed to repeat that. And then you repeat yourself. Like, you know, I always go behind my child. Like he's like, who is this? He says, boy. And then I was like, boy. Who is this? He goes, bye. And then I go, boy. I repeat myself nice and clear with my accent there. But, you know, this is what I got. So this is when you start with very severe. This is where I started too. Then you go to the next one, and you teach them separate too. Same steps. Same, exactly. The next thing is you're gonna fade out. Now, this is not probably gonna, you know, it actually works the same for verbal, non-verbal, but you're just gonna cover, because they learn this and they learn image. This will not change. This will. So, but anyway, same steps, but no word. Boy, boy. Then you have 2 cards. because they should know this one and should know this one. You go through the same steps. Boy, girl. Who is this? This is a boy. This is a girl. Show me boy. Give me boy. Point me boy. Same with this. Give me the boy. Give me the girl. And you just keep playing with these cards until they actually get it. Just these two. Okay? This basically the foundation. The next level will be generalization. And I've seen good and bad ABA, and typically they would probably stop on these two. But the child at this point, severely autistic child, they don't have any prior skills, so they're always gonna think that the boy or the girl is image associated with this card or with that card, right? So that's why you have to teach them other things, and for that reason, you know, I just don't have my resources here, right? This is how I live now. I'm so sorry. But you're gonna have that, okay? Boys and girls. And you're gonna add them gradually into your pile. There's gonna be boys. Let's say you start with that card and you're gonna add 2 more boys and 2 more girls. Make sure that they look like those. Like long hair for girl and a skirt, and short hair for boy and shorts, something like that, so they're distinctive, different, right? And then you're gonna start sorting. And I would recommend, that's an extra step, but you can skip that if you add the picture of your own child with these, you know, if it's a boy or if it's a girl, whatever. The girl should have a dress, and then you have pictures of other girls with a dress, and you also want to have pictures that are cartoons, picture of your own child in there. Like, let's say if it's a girl, you have a daughter, girl, you have this picture, you have her in the same that dress, and you have like a real picture of a real girl, different girl, just you know, not a drawing per se. And then you just start sorting them. Sorting, it's a different skill, and we'll look at severe autism here. So to some it could be boring, but I'm targeting severe cases like mine. You know, he can generalize. He didn't see this today. I mean, when I recorded that video, it was hilarious because I was trying so hard to get it out, and he never seen these images before. But he showed that to me because he's already got to the point where he can generalize. And if I show it to him, he would rarely make a mistake. And nowadays, it's not that easy, right? So, but you want to teach him the right way. And then when you start sorting, and unfortunately, like I said, I don't have resources, I'm sorry. You're going to sort with them. Just like it is, you know, okay, this is boy, and you show him this is a boy, and you put it in that pile. That's a girl, that's a girl. You teach him that, the picture. Then see if they can do it. You help them sometimes with taking their hand. This is pile girl, this is pile boy. Take this and sort with them. You have to teach them sorting. I just don't know where you are. I don't have a child in front of me. But then eventually they will be able to use to this picture and they will start sorting. And then the next step would be you gonna remove words and you're gonna make them separate. So you're gonna have like a label of boys, boy. We're not gonna go plural. Boy and girl. Just the words. And then you have pictures that don't have any words. You're just gonna sort them by just looking at pictures and sort under those labels. Then eventually, the next step would be to fade out those word labels and just sort them the actual pictures. And your child should be among those, right? Because he's gonna see consistently that he's going into a pile of boys or a pile of girls for that matter. So then, let's see. So we're fading out labels, and when you do the sorting, make it a challenge. Keep adding 1 or 2 pictures. When they get it right, That's when you're gonna start add a new one, one maybe even two, depends. But smaller steps always more secure. You just add one they don't know, because they already know two, they don't know third one. Maybe they may have a behavior because they don't know, and that's when you're gonna add that one new picture, probably just one, probably better, and see if they're gonna sort. If not, you just teach them right away, that's a boy and this is a girl. Because if they don't know something, they're gonna have behaviors, and that's something you don't want. That's why you teach them the right way, or you sometimes even ask them question, and then you answer that question for them so they can hear it, and they don't get another option to hear the wrong answer there. So, but they already sorted those two. They sorted their own picture under that label. They can see constantly because you're doing repetition after repetition, and they know for some reason they go to pile under girls or to pile under boys. Okay, that's a note. Cannot do without it. Okay. Now, with children that are nonverbal, they're like less limited, and this is very sad, but we can still teach them. We can still teach them, and they may not say something, but they can show you. They can show it to you, and they can give it to you. They can point at it, and that's still a skill. They still know. They just cannot say it, right? Writing would be another thing, but I don't think severely autistic nonverbal can write very well, because you have to teach him writing, and that's a whole different game. I'll talk about that, because my child knows how to write, and we started with letters like this. Now he's writing like that, and he also couldn't hold his pen properly, and the school failed. Yeah, so but now he's doing very good. I'll talk about that one day. I'm promising. Just now I want to go address echolalia. So what is echolalia? I know that because my child was nonverbal, and I was able to get words out of him before he turned 5. So he was 4.5, and I was pushing it, and I did not want to have a speech device, because I didn't see that functional for me, and I knew that window of opportunity closed very soon. So I pushed very hard to get at least one word or two words or sounds, because if they go that's a sound. Just have to shape it, and you have to teach them. Use your mouth, because they have to look. Speech device doesn't teach them how your lips moving. That's why people that are nonverbal, they learn sign language, because they look at you. They look how your mouth moves. They can read your lips. It's usually deaf people too, right? I mean, so speech device is another thing. And usually when you need one is when your child is already like 11 and still not talking. Yeah, that's when you need it then. That's my opinion. Now, with echolalia, that's a transitional phase. When they start getting word here and there, then they will be repeating, and they will be repeating the last word. Yeah, it's just how it is. Because they cannot say the full sentences, but they will repeat the last word. And this is very important, because my child still has somewhat echolalia, and I don't always take his answer as an answer, because I know what I'm targeting here. And oftentimes, like I say, for example, like, do you want to stay in hotel or you want to go to Busch Gardens? He's gonna say Busch Gardens, of course, right? Because Busch Gardens is easier to say, well, to him now, yeah, because it's the last word to repeat. Or like, let me give you another example. For example, going back to boy and girl thing, right? When you have a child with echolalia, you want him to ask the right question. And let's say you have a boy, then the question will be, are you a boy or a girl? Yes. Why? Because echolalia, they will be repeating the last word, and you want to teach them the right way. Well, supposedly they already know they're a boy. They should know then by all this, going through all these steps. But if you give them like, if you give them like, are you a girl or a boy? With echolalia, it's easier for them to repeat that boy, right? But you don't know if they just repeated that last word or they actually were thinking about it. So This is why you ask him, possibly a boy. You ask him, are you a girl or a boy? And then he's gonna say a boy. Okay, that's a echolalia. Now to test it and cross-examine, you're gonna ask him, are you a boy or a girl? And see what they're gonna say. If they're gonna say girl, that's a echolalia. If they're thinking behind that, they will actually have to reverse, going back, and pick up that word that was said correctly the first time. And that's a little bit more difficult for them. But at least at this point, you know it's not a echolalia, and they know who they are. So when you ask these questions, you always want to put the right answer first and incorrect answer last. So for the girl, if you want to ask girl and test her for whether it's a echolalia or if she actually knows the answer, you would ask her, are you a girl or a boy? So if she repeats, I'm a boy, well, especially with school nowadays, it's kind of dangerous. You know what I mean. But you already know that's a echolalia. But if you say, are you a girl or a boy? And then she should say a girl, then you know she knows. That's pretty much like the final test. Then you want to generalize to people. You want to go to real people, because I've seen ABA mastered picture like that. Like, let's say it's a girl. She said, Brandon mastered it. He knows that this is a girl. So guess what I'm doing? I'm going back and I'm checking. I'm taking another image. And I say, Brandon, who is this? He was not able to say that because he'd never seen that picture before. He never was taught generalization transition skill either. That's why you have to have more and more and more, so they know it's, that this girl is going to be different on a different image. This is why it's so important to bring more pictures, real pictures, drawing pictures, their own pictures, so they know there's more. And then from pictures, then you're going to transfer to actual people. Like, I'm a mommy, I'm a girl. And Brandon, you are a boy. You ask him that and see, mommy, girl, Brandon, boy. Mommy, girl, Brandon, boy. Mommy, girl, Brandon. And wait. Just wait. See if they come up with a boy. Just because now you're just repeating and you're attaching that to them. And if he says nothing, well, just keep repeating. Mommy, girl, Brandon, boy. Brandon, boy, take his hand. That's a boy. I'm a girl. Eventually, they will get to that too because of repetition. They used to hear that. With nonverbal, it's a little bit harder though. It's just, you just have to use labels. Are you a boy or girl? Taking two pictures, show them, who are you? And they should point, boy or girl, right? Still faster than a speech device, because then you have to go, this function, this function, that. I know, I had two of those devices. And what else? Yeah, you do want to transition to real people. And this is very important. Something else I want to mention. When you add these pictures, when you add them up, you want to make sure that your pile of girls and your pile of boys, boys, they have, what I was gonna say, different races. That's important. We live in a multiracial society. So you want them to be exposed to Asian people, African American people, maybe Indian people, maybe Spanish people, right? So they know, they can generalize races. Also very, very, very important. And you want to teach them that when you start adding up boys, girls, and then so yes, I did have like a large pile of pictures, but now this today, he never saw it before. And look, they wear like sports gear. They don't even have dresses. I guess he goes by the hair at this point. but somehow this looks like a boy, but you know, he said that correctly too. And yes, some pictures would be helpful if you use, I'm not talking naked, but bathing suits, swimsuits, you know, because girls have 2 piece, boys have 1. There's another, you know, reason to distinguish one from the other. But these are the steps. And always, once your child, because I think my child still has a lot of ukulele, and when I work with him, I know when he says the right answer, when not, and if he repeats the word, then I ask the question again to make sure, and then I reverse the words to make sure, because I still don't know if he gives me the right answer or if it's just an ukulele here. So, well, I made that video, it's about 20 minutes. Again, I don't have a child, I don't know in front of me, right? That's what worked for me, and we were 0. We were 0. And I created all these materials, I created all these steps, and the more the better, because the easier steps, the smaller steps, guess what? Less behaviors. You're not gonna deal so much with behaviors, because my child does have tantrums, but it's not nearly as bad as what I see sometimes on YouTube. This is just crazy. And I feel sorry for these parents, because behaviors could go to a certain extent where, you know, they become physically, and you cannot physically control them. This is the strongest prompt. And when you're talking ABA, there's going to be 3. The strongest is physical, then visual, then verbal. What I'm working with my child, stay in your seat right now, that's verbal, and that's at the distance. Because physical is the strongest, but it's not going to be effective when they grow older. This is what I'm saying, why it's important, and you're going to figure that out. So, and then typical child would respond most of the time to a verbal prompt, and that's what we want with our children as well, verbal prompt. But I'm talking something different by now, but you know, I'm sidetracked and all this noise and everything, so I hope that was helpful. Again, I don't have a child in front of me that I need to look at, examine, observe, and then come up with a plan how we're gonna do it. But this is more or less like general, and it's basically starting from considering that child doesn't know, may not even talk, taking them to the point where they can identify themselves. And yes, you do want their to have their picture. Okay, so I talk to you soon. I hope that's helpful, and I'll think of something else next time around, because tomorrow we're going to Busch Gardens again. Talk to you soon.